The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, and then it's repeated in its entirety from 2 until 6 a.m. on Talkstar. If you'd like to give us a call, toll-free worldwide now at 1-800-610-7035. That is toll-free at 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradio.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. On tonight's show, we have, in our first hour, I'm going to be talking to Tina and Tilde Cameron. We're going to be talking about Ouija boards. Hour number 2, Sherry Ward joins me to talk about how do psychics get their information. Lloyd Pye in hour number 3 is going to be discussing the Star Child Project. And hour number 4, James Goddard is going to be asking the question, does Bob Cratchit from Scrooge actually teach his children to be losers? All this and more tonight here on the X Zone. Today is the last day of the month of November. It is November the 30th in the year 2009. And on this day in history, author Jonathan Swift was born in 1667. On this date in 1782, the American Revolutionary War ended. Good day for authors Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain, was born on this date in 1835. On this date in 1804, the first U.S. Supreme Court Justice was impeached, Samuel Chase. He went to trial. In 1949, Chinese communists captured Chongqing. And on this date in 1956, Floyd Patterson knocked out Archie Moore in the 5th round. Also, in 1981, the motion picture Gandhi premiered in New Delhi. And on this date in 1986, President Reagan called Oliver North a national hero. If you're celebrating your birthday today, well, happy birthday from everyone here at the X Zone and Talkstar and our affiliates around the world. Let me see. Clay Aiken turns 31 today. Sandra O is celebrating a birthday today. Which one? 39, bingo. And Billy Idol turns 54 today, and it's Dick Clark's 80th birthday. Today is National Day of Friendship, and we'll talk more about these wonderful days as the X Zone continues on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. And I'm going to be heard on the other side of this break as once again we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035 are the magic numbers. We'll be back on the other side talking about Ouija boards and more, live and around the world from our beautiful studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and our network, which reaches all around the world. Don't go away, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
We all desire health, happiness, and fulfillment, but often get in our own way. Repeated patterns that leave us out of control can keep us feeling powerless, frustrated, and unable to move forward in spite of our best efforts. Unconscious patterning disconnects us from our gifts, often destroying the very thing we seek. But there is an answer. We can take charge of our destiny and heal the trauma of our history. Shamanism is an effective ancient modality that can reconnect us with our true selves, empower the creation of our dreams, and return us to health and balance. Cody Alexander is a certified shamanic practitioner and teacher with 11 years' experience. Email healingpathways33@gmail.com or visit codyalexander.net to schedule a long-distance shamanic session today.
And welcome back to the X-Zone. This is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Toll free 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradio.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. As long as mankind has had a conscious awareness, he has yearned to know and understand himself and the world around him. He has sought answers to questions about his true purpose here on earth, questions about his existence, about God and his connection to the infinite source, questions about love, reality, life and death. What really happens to us when we die? Are heaven and hell real? And are we alone in this universe, or do other realities really exist? Now, one day in September 2004, Sisters Tina Firoda and Tilde Cameron were experimenting with a Ouija board when they were contacted by their spirit guides. They were given instructions to begin meditating daily in preparation for the transmission that would begin soon. One letter at a time, their guides delivered the entirety of a book of insight. Tina and Tilde discuss how they were connected by spirits and the messages their spirits wished to impart with them. Joining me now from Vancouver, British Columbia, are Tina and Tilde. Hey, ladies, how are you today?
Hey, Rob. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Tell me, why did you start playing with the Ouija board?
Well, it's a very interesting story. Both Tilde and I, since childhood, have had some very interesting experiences. Mm-hmm. Experiences basically that are not of this three-dimensional world, such as out-of-body experiences, invisible friends, premonitions. And, you know, once you start having those kind of experiences, it kind of tweaks your interest in the other side. And because they're not supposedly three-dimensional experiences that most people have. So since childhood, we've always had an interest in the unknown. And one day, I'm Tina, one day I came across a Ouija board, and I was in my teens, and it piqued my interest. And when Tilde got old enough, when I'm older than her, during our teenage years, we just started experimenting with the Ouija board because of these experiences. And in the beginning, it was more for fun and curiosity, and we asked, silly questions and tried to contact people like Marilyn Monroe, things like that. And we never really took it seriously. And until one day, we were introduced to our guides, and we've got 3 guides that come through and speak to us. They're called Melanie, M, and Demna. And they introduced themselves to us and told us that they were our guides and that we've known each other since before we burst onto this reality. And since then, our play with the Ouija board took on a more serious tone, and we started getting messages of a different nature.
Now, many people are afraid of the Ouija board because they say it brings through negative spirits, lying spirits, spirits who want to deceive you. So how come you guys aren't afraid of it and the messages that you're getting are positive?
Well, I think the very important thing when you're using a Ouija board is to have positive intent and to not treat it as a game or as a toy.
Mm-hmm.
For us, a Ouija board is a communication tool, and it's no different than using rune stones or tarot cards. So we use it with very positive intent, and before each session, we will meditate, and then we will also say a prayer of protection, and we will surround ourselves with imaginary white light. And we've never had a negative experience, although actually I've just said that, but what I should tell you is that in the very beginning, when we started playing with the Ouija board and treating it as a game, we did have one entity that came through and started cursing.
Really?
So at that point, we realized that we do have to be careful with this, and that's when we started saying our prayer of protection and being very careful with our intentions around it. But since then, we've received nothing but very, very positive spiritual messages. And one thing I'd like to add to that
Sure.
is it's like making a telephone call. If you just pick up the phone and dial a random number, you don't know who you're going to connect with. And you can connect with a weirdo, let's say. Whereas if you have an intention of connecting with someone specific and you have their phone number and you dial that number, that's exactly who you're going to connect with. So yes, intention does have a lot to do with it. And what our guides tell us is that intention is a good thing, and we should have positive intentions. So we should make a point of not making a random telephone call when we're playing with a Ouija board.
The title of your book is A Book of Insight. What's it about?
Well, it's very interesting because there's 16 chapters in our book, and there's 16 different topics. But basically, what our guides want us to know is that we are divine and that we play a powerful role in the creation of our lives. And our guides tell us that we are basically divine portions of the soul, of the source, and as divine beings, we share in those sources' energy as co-creators of the reality that we live in. And there's chapters in there such as belief systems, magnetism, which we call the law of attraction, reality, and meditation. And a lot of these chapters basically used together help us to understand the greater picture. And in understanding the greater picture and understanding how belief systems, magnetism, and reality operate, we can then create our own realities and create the lives that we want to live for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We like to think of a Book of Insight as a manual for the spiritual seeker. It explores the answers to some of our most fundamental questions. And these are questions that I think each and every one of us have had at some point in our lives. Questions about God, reality, life, death. You mentioned this at the top of your show. What happens to us when we die? Are heaven and hell real? All of these questions, I think most of us have pondered at one time or another, and A Book of Insight takes us to the answers of these questions.
What are some of the messages that you're receiving from your guides that you'd like to share with your readers and the listeners of the X Zone?
Do you want to take that? Sure. One of the topics that they cover throughout the book, although this book is not about meditation, meditation is a subject that gets revisited throughout the book. And the one thing our guides really wanted us to know was how important meditation is to us. They've told us that meditation is the one most important thing that you can do for your spiritual development. And it helps us on so many levels. It helps us to expand our greater awareness. We get so caught up in our day-to-day lives that oftentimes we forget that really we're spiritual beings first and foremost, and we exist in a greater reality than the one that we just experience on a day-to-day basis. And meditation helps us to I guess you could say, visit that reality and gain a greater understanding of it. And it helps us on so many levels. It helps us with our health. We can use meditation to help us with stress. It also helps to develop our sixth senses. I know that psychics make a point of meditating on a daily basis because it helps their intuitive senses. The interesting thing is that when we were channeling this book, our guides would refuse to engage with us until we did a meditation session first. And if we hadn't meditated before the session, they would basically spell out the words meditate and abruptly end the session. And then we would have to take half an hour to an hour, do a meditation session, and only then would our guides come through and channel the book through us. So they tell us that meditation is so important. And some of the benefits are, as Tilde was mentioning, through meditation, we can maintain a centeredness in our life that can help us to guide our decisions. Meditation will help us to develop a stronger connection with our intuitiveness. It will help us to decipher between the voice of our ego and the voice of our intuition, because sometimes we get confused between the two. And other than help us develop our psychic communication abilities, it'll help us to expand our mind, gaining a greater picture of our awareness. And if we combine it with visualization, we can help it can help to shape and create the reality we desire through the use of creative visualization. So there's so many benefits that are to be gained from meditation, and the subject of meditation is visited throughout the entire book because of its importance to us.
What does happen to us when we die? Have you been able to answer that question?
Yes, they have been able to answer that question. They tell us that we have lived and died many times, and that we should have no anxiety over death. In a manner of speaking, the spirit world that we cross over into can be viewed as an alternate reality, because technically it is. And what they tell us is that our body is the organic shell that we occupy while we're here in this world. And that when our soul exits our body upon a physical death, you will retain the identity that you've had in this life, in this body, but you will also retain every identity you've had in every reincarnation that you've had. And our guides compare this to having many jobs. You've had many jobs in your life, and when you move on to a new job, you don't forget the previous one. You still remember it, but you've simply, taken on a new position in life. And what they tell us is that we will retain all of the relationships we've had, with our families and our friends and so forth.
So nothing really. So when we go on to our next life, those around us in this life are still with us in the next?
Yes, we remember each other, and we're met. They say that we're met by people that we love, such as friends or relatives, when we cross to the other side. So, yes, we retain our relationships.
So then why do we keep doing it? Why doesn't it just start and stop?
Well, what our guides tell us, that our ultimate goal through our many reincarnations is the achievement of unconditional love. And every lesson that we have and every lifetime that we have is for the purpose of attaining unconditional.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the four corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. We're talking to Tina and Tilde about their book. It's a book that was channeled using a Ouija board and then subsequently by their guides. Their website is www.abookofinsight.com. Now, before we get back to Tina and Tilde, just a few things we need to talk about here. Due to the growing demand of putting the X Chronicles newspaper that we have on many sites available to people who have just purchased the Kindles or other ebook handheld devices, the X Chronicles newspaper is now available at mobipocket.com and fine internet resellers around the world. So if you'd like to go to the main site, it's www.mobipocket.com. And for a Christmas special, we have 23 of the most popular X Chronicles editions from 2002 to our last one that we put out, November 2009, available on a DVD. Now, if you go to Scribd or if you go to any of the other retailers that sell the X Chronicles, you're going to pay $2.95 each. However, as a Christmas package, we've taken the best of the 23 and are selling them for $23 US, shipping included. If you'd like more information on that, go to xchronicles-newspaper.com/Xmas2009.htm, or just go to xzoneradiotv.com and click on the button. It'll bring you right to that site. Ouija boards. Ever since I was a kid, I've been told by people, oh, they're dangerous, oh, they're evil. They bring nothing but bad and horrible things will happen to you if you ever touch a Ouija board. Well, according to our two guests this evening, that's not true. My special guests are Firoda and Tilde Cameron. They have written a book that is all about their experience, that is based on their experience with a Ouija board. And the name of the book is entitled what, girls?
A Book of Insight.
I love it. It's stereo. Girls, first of all, welcome back. And before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about that life is never ending, so to speak. We go from one existence to the next, whether it be in this reality, this dimension, or whatever. My question to you was, if we do it once, why do we need to be doing it again? And if our concept of heaven, of eternal peace, is based on our spiritual beliefs and heaven being that of which is all love, why don't we just do it once and go and have our eternal peace?
Well, part of the reason that we exist is because we are a part of the Source's quest for self-actualization, as our guides put it. And what they say is that in the beginning, the Source existed as a singularity. And as a singularity, the Source wanted to know and understand all of what it could become. And in having the first thought and the first question, it exploded forth into the answer. And the answer is infinite and ongoing, because the Source, what the Source can become, is infinite. So what our guides tell us is for us to live only once and then die and go into a heaven of forever peace and love is boring, and there would be no reason for it. So we basically are experiencing reality and all its infinite possibilities on behalf of the source, which what we term as God.
So what we are is basically our puppets?
Well, what they tell us is that we are the source. The energy, I'll start here. Most of us have this preconceived notion through religion and other sources of God being basically of human nature. We think of God as an old man with a long gray beard who sits up in the clouds looking down on us in judgment. And really what they tell us is that this couldn't be further from the truth. The source, or God, is infinite conscious awareness. They almost describe it as an energy field of pure intelligence, all knowledge, all love. And this energy field permeates each and every one of us. It makes up the cells within our body. It permeates everything in existence. And I remember hearing Deepak Chopra say that our cells contain an inner intelligence that mirrors the universe. Well, our guides tell us that it goes even beyond that. This inner intelligence mirrors the source, or God. So we basically are portions of God. We are God having a human experience. And what our guides tell us is that we have separated ourselves from God. And what we need to know is that there is no separation between us and the source. I have
to ask you this. How do you know the information you're getting is true and not lies?
It's all the information that came through to us. For one thing, it was all very positive. It was delivered in the messages were all very loving in nature. And most of what it delivered to us really resonated with us. There was just this inner feeling that it resonated as truth to us.
How long have you been channeling?
Boy, over 20 years now. Yeah. Almost, I'm going to give away our ages here. Almost 25 years, I'd say.
All right, so you've been channeling these messages for 25 years. Now, in the Bible, it says in the final years, watch out for false prophets. And there are those listening tonight who will say, "Oh, yeah, these girls are getting positive messages now." But what happens if these are the false prophets that are depicted and talked about in many religious philosophical books?
Well, first of all, we're not prophets. We're simply messengers.
No. We're talking about the spirits then, the channeling messages that you're getting.
Yes, absolutely. I don't see how any of the information that they gave us could be misconstrued that way. I mean, when you're talking about things like love and compassion, caring for one another, caring for all beings on the planet, stopping war, these kinds of messages, I don't think that any of them could be misconstrued that way.
All right. Have your guides given you any prophecies that over the last 20 years have become true? And if so, what are they?
No, they haven't given us any prophecies. They've basically told us that reality is full of probabilities, and that we create our own realities according to our belief systems and our thoughts, because our belief systems and our thoughts have energy. And because we have free will, we have the ability to change the outcome of our reality. So it's up to us. It's basically up to us. And they haven't given us any prophecies. But having read the book, what I can say from my own belief and my own opinion is that as far as prophecy goes, and as far as the final battle between good and evil goes, we're in it now. I mean, look at all the earthquakes we're having, the wars we're having, the tsunamis, and there's a great awakening that is happening right now on our planet. And then there's also the faction that want to have power and control over us. So we can interpret that as being the final battle. And then as far as the second coming, well, when I think of the second coming, I think, and most of us think of Jesus or the Messiah coming again. Well, when I think of that, I think, well, how can one person in today's day and age stand out in a population of over 6 billion people. It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Well, wait a minute. I hate to disagree with you here, but I think you're wrong. For example, everyone around the world knows President Obama. Everyone around the world knows Osama bin Laden. Everyone. So how can you say that? It's very simple.
I get what you're saying, but what I believe is that I think that the Christ consciousness is a great consciousness. It's a greater consciousness than President Obama. It's a greater consciousness than you or I. It's a greater consciousness. And I believe that the Christ consciousness is great enough to envelop the planet. And there's a lot of us that are awakening today, a lot of us that are discovering spirituality, and a lot of us that are experiencing awakening within our souls. And for me, that is a second coming, the awakening of the Christ consciousness within our souls. And what a wonderful way for the Christ consciousness to awaken us, is to awaken within the source and the soul within us all. So I think there's more than one way to interpret the Christ consciousness and the second coming. And the coming of one person is one interpretation. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I'm saying that it's one interpretation, and I'm offering another interpretation.
All right. So, what was your religious belief prior to receiving the messages, and what are your religious philosophies now, and how have they changed?
Well, Tina and I were both brought up as Catholic, and I don't think that the Catholic Church would approve when it comes to Ouija boards and channeling messages. But we had always questioned our religion. We felt that there was so much more that we just weren't getting from religion. There were so many unanswered questions. And I think that's part of the reason that we started exploring beyond our church and our religion. And once we connected with our spirit guides, a lot of those answers were starting to come to us. And they made sense. Yeah, they made sense on an inner level. And I remember going to catechism as a Catholic and every Saturday and learning the lessons of the church. And even as a child, it didn't make sense to me. And I think children have a truer sense of reality because they haven't been touched the way adults have been touched by belief systems and thought systems. And I think also the church taught us to believe that in order to reach God, we had to go through a middleman. If we'd done something wrong and we wanted to clear ourselves or cleanse ourselves.
But isn't that what your guides are doing? They're acting as the middleman for you to get to your nirvana or to get to your higher being? Because without these guides, would you be saying that you're able to get there?
Well, what our guides are telling us is that we don't need them or anyone to connect to God because we have a direct link to God.
All right, so why do you maintain communication with your guides, and why have you written this book then if you don't need them?
Because we can.
That's all right. No, girls, we'll have to get. I'd like a clearer answer on that than just because we can.
Oh yes, it's through our guides that we started to learn all of this. So for us, our connection or our relationship with our guides has been a truly blessed one, I believe, because we've learned so many of these concepts through our guides, and it's because of our guides that we realize that we have a greater connection.
Is there a difference between a guide and an angel?
Yes, there is. We actually had an entity come through that called itself Source. And it described itself as serving the source in the maintenance of balance of the entire creation. And this entity that referred to itself as source basically said to us, some of you refer to us as angels. Whereas our guides are entities or spirits that have incarnated on this planet before. And they tell us that there are times when we are guides to them, and we don't incarnate, and there are times when they are guides to us, when we incarnate.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question here, and it's a very important question.
Okay.
How do we know that what you're telling us is the truth?
Well, the thing that our guides tell us.
No. I'm not asking about the guides. I'm asking about you girls.
Okay. Well, I mean, what I like to tell people is that I don't want to. I'm not trying to force my views or my opinions on anyone. What we're doing is putting the information out there that we've received and then leaving it up to the reader to decide for themselves, just as we have with this information. For us personally, it really resonated with us and it rings true. And we tell the reader, if you want to read the book, there's some very, very interesting subject matter in there. Read the book and then decide for yourselves if it rings true for you or not. I mean, we're not here to tell people what they should or should not believe. That's up to each and every one of us to decide for ourselves.
See, and that's the perfect answer, because what you've just done there is validated yourself. That's what I wanted to hear. Girls, stand by. We've got to take a commercial break. www.abookofinsight.com. That's www.abookofinsight.com. I'll be back with Tina and Tilde on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up for this hour on the X Zone. In the next hour, Sherry Ward is my special guest. And we're going to be talking to Sherry about how do those psychics get their information. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. And then the show is repeated in its entirety from 2 until 6. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada on Talkstar.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
I don't know. I think Christmas would be a lot more happier and a greater season if we didn't commercialize the heck out of it. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Call me Scrooge if you want. I don't mind. Bah, humbug. 1-800-610-7035. They're changing all these numbers on me all at once. At 1-800-610-7035 worldwide. Our special guest this hour, Tina and Tilde, they are the authors of A Book of Insight. It's available at their website at www.abookofinsight.com. Ladies, first of all, I want to thank both of you for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure having you here. I wish you, nothing but the greatest of happiness and spirituality and love in the year 2010. And speaking about years, what's your take on 2012?
Well, we think it's a bunch of hype. All this negativity that people are talking about, the end of the world, and then they're coming out with movies on it. And I think we're going to wake up on 2012, and it's going to be like the year 2000, Y2K. It's going to be another day. I think, having said that, I think what the 2012 means to a lot of us is basically a new awakening, a new spirituality, the dawning of a new spiritual life. And this is already happening. We don't have to wait until the year 2012 to start awakening. It's already started. And I think that, thank God for the internet, because we can all connect with each other and talk to each other. And I'm realizing through my connection with the internet that many people in many different parts of the world are going through this spiritual awakening as well.
Well, again, ladies, I'd like to take this opportunity of wishing you and yours the very best of the season, the Christmas season, and again, nothing but great love, joy, and positive things happening for you both in the year 2010. Now, where can our listeners get a copy of your book?
Well, you can get it on our website at abookofinsight.com. It's also available through Amazon, amazon.com or amazon.ca in Canada. And it's also available through barnesandnoble.com. And if your favorite bookstore doesn't have it, you can ask them to order it in for you. And in Europe, it's available on amazon.co.uk.
Ladies, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here on the X Zone. We look forward to talking to you both again in the new year. X Zone Nation, once again, and Book of Insight, www.abookofinsight.com. Tina and Tilde are our special guests. We've been talking in the last hour about the messages that have been channeled to them by their three spirit guides. And I love the message. Get the book. It'll make a positive difference in somebody's life. When I come back from this commercial break with the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, I'll be joined by Sherry Ward. We're going to be asking Sherry the question, so where do the psychics get their information? My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone, and we're coming to you live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035 is worldwide. www.xzoneradiotv.com is our website, and if you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradio.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break at 6.5 minutes past. Don't go away.